I believe in the industry called crafting, but I make weird things. Of course I know how to sew, but I don't sew. I don't fabricate the costumes in the sewing sense, but I make the weirder stuff. Lots of glue, foam, paint, a lot of paint. I also distress clothes to make them look old, a lot of dyeing. It's mostly color work, a lot of color work. Okay, we're looking at a older Romeo jacket from Anne Juliet, and it needs a lot of restoration. And this I'll approach like a painting. This should just be bold. You can tell it's fancy from a distance, but it mostly should be bold. So the contrast of colors, I would like in restoring this, I'd start it in markers and then go to the paint afterwards. Just get my little highlights in, my sweet little highlights like Bob Ross. I started really around 17 or 18 while I was going to school. And school was full of abstract expressionist paintings left over from the 60s, so I was not into that. So pretty quickly, I really started doing costume stuff. The first super real job I had in a shop was at Parsons Mirrors with Sally Ann Parsons, and it was a true apprenticeship. I wasn't allowed to touch anything for a while, and I had the most amazing mentors. Sally Ann, I worked with Willa Kim. She would come and stand next to me. I started as the dyer there, and I did a dye test, and I could match colors. Great, knew nothing about the chemistry. Sally Ann gave me a book, and Sally Ann really nurtured. So this is where the magic happens. Right, usually this table is cluttered with every project, because the projects often are little and have nothing to do with each other. So the materials are, I have one set of materials for this, one set of materials for that. Like this guy, which is a lamb head, that's my clay projects. And so I'll have all the clay tools. And then the jackets are my painting projects. So I have 1,000 things of paint. And for Titanic, there's, on our iceberg, we have a little polar bear. It's made out of foam clay. And then this is one of the sneaker situations. And I asked the person what they needed on their sneakers, and they said strawberries. And I'm like, cool, let's go with that. So this is from a medieval manuscript. This they found me from a medieval manuscript. And you get to know other designers' vibes. Like when some designers say, I want a pink, you're like, you want a blue pink. I know you. And other designers want a yellow pink. When you work with somebody for a really long time, you kind of know really what their palette is. Yeah, I've always made things. And that just keeps your brain going. I do love looking at people making things. I love to go to other people's shops. I really like to look at products. Products are really fun. Hi, how are you? Look at some paint. This is where all my products come from, but this aisle is heavy in my rotation. These are all the dyes. And these are basic, quick, non-specialty dyes, but a lot of flesh colors I will get from the RIT. There's also color remover, which fixing mistakes is incredibly important. Dyeing for theater is very different than incredibly traditional dyeing. I used I had some Japanese silk dyes for a while. And they're like, dyes are different for each material. And now with current synthetics, it's hard to get an accurate count of what actually is in there. There's a lot of synthetics that dye beautifully. Nylon is like the best thing in the world to dye. But you have to test every single fabric, often with every single dye. So Moulin Rouge, there will be 6, this is both most irritating, challenging, and fun. There are 6 different fabrics that will need to be the same flesh color. And one of them is a cotton rayon mix. That is pretty classic. Then there will be like 5 nets. They all look like they're similar. They lie. You put them, I put them all together in a batch and see how different they are and then tweak each individual one. And it's all, the cotton rayon is one kind of dye. The nets are a couple of different kinds of dye. But it's total mad scientist.
Julz is a specific theater artist. I mean, nobody's like Julz, just so you know. People come in here because it's not really crowded in here, and you can kind of just shop and do your thing and find what you need to find. But we have very specific, unlike an art store, we have very specific things to the industry that are more, more for the industry than, say, going to I don't want to say Michael's or something like that, or a craft store like that. So that's the difference between us, and we have more professional supplies than other stores do as well.
It's curated.
Yeah, that's the word right there.
Yeah, it's curated. I love materials and the chemistry of materials, so I like traditional gold leafing and actually grinding paint and all that stuff, but then all the new polymers that make things stick to things. So yeah, I like to look in stores at stuff. The online thing is, I miss walking around stores and going, oh, what is that weird thing? And now that I'm older and can afford it, I can buy that weird thing and try it. There's a lot of designers who know exactly what they want. And sometimes that's actually a hindrance because they don't know what they can get. Because they're not makers every day, they don't know what's available out there, and there's so many cool things. On the other hand, there's designers that give you way too much free rein, and you're like, you don't even necessarily know the context of the whole show. So you're designing your piece, but it has to fit into the whole show. It's great when you can have a collaboration when they come with you during the process. Alejo does have a vague notion, lets me go free rein.
For visiting an old friend.
Old friends.
That's amazing. So the idea of this is a gag in the show. Nobody will worry, but somebody comes in and says I'm coming to pick up the Lady Gaga's coat. That's where I came up with the idea, maybe being a meat jacket in reference to her meat dress.
It's fun. We play back and forth. He tells me what he wants. There's often a sketch, and he lets me go free rein. And he'll say, no, I don't like that too. So that's cool.
These are the sausage links. This is brilliant.
This little foam sausage.
Oh my God, this is so great. They're so light. And they're so wonderful. I love what you did here too. And these can stand up if we want, right?
Yeah, I know that.
So what does it look like when we close it?
So it's a bomber jacket. And at first, Alejo wanted me to do a literal bomber jacket that was digitally printed with meat on it and hands it. And I'm like, Also, she would not wear that style jacket. So it's a moto jacket that is painted like meat with meat accessories, little sausage fringe and ribs on the collar and very, very raw meat. And it was the pandemic, so it was super fun.
I never expected to be this good. Oftentimes, theatrical things look great from the stage, and when you look up close, you see how the magic, some kind disappears. But in this case, it's incredible. You look at it up close, it's 2 feet apart, and it just looks like a big jacket.
If it's something really spectacular and show busy, like the jacket I do for Anne Juliet, I'm like, ooh, that's cool. But for the most part, you can't see what I do now. The whole point is that it's totally invisible. These are all painted with roses that were sort of lifted from prints from Shakespeare's time, so Shakespeare's roses, which he refers to a lot, obviously, in his writing. And then the back, obviously, he's part of the Montague gang. And this is his gang patch with his little heartbroken knife and bedazzles and his little punky safety pins and some studs. But this is a super fun thing to paint. And I don't even know how many I've painted at this point, but this one needs some re-love because it's lived through a lot. It's a craft, and most crafts are learned by practice. Yeah, in school you can get vague familiarity. Painting is an excellent skill, drafting, color theory, sculpture, understanding 3D, all the tech skills you can possibly get. You need all of the making skills. Any making skill you have is good to throw in. It's constantly figuring something out. Making anything is fun, and it could be in a tech realm, it could be in, like, I have a friend, his skills are totally 21st century, my skills are 18th century, and it's fun to work together.
I feel like every piece, it's kind of a challenge on its own. And I think I almost like lean toward the projects that are challenging because I feel like I get to think harder on the solutions. So I feel like I don't think of projects like, oh, this is so hard. I think like it almost like it makes me happier if I have more to figure out. I do specialty costumes for performing arts. So I design costumes and I make costumes that require some additional development and engineering. So not traditional period costumes, but more kind of things that need little tricks of trade, a little bit of magic, a little bit of like some whimsical twist to the making of the costumes. So this is the final 3D model for Miami Ballet, and we had opportunity to develop these like 3D sculptural embellishments, and they were all modeled to be printed flexible. And the goal was to create something that the dancer can feel comfortable, but to also kind of have more sculptural feel to it. And both the mask, the skull, and the chest piece were modeled to be printed and then kind of created into this like very elaborate, lush, gold-leafed mask. Usually it starts as a conversation about this idea or concept, and frequently there is an illustration or a piece of research where we kind of pulled inspiration from different resources, and then I either take that into my own hands and illustrate the design, or there's an illustrator that it's hired to kind of communicate that in the sense of illustration. And then from there on, I take it to another level of creating either a digital file for laser cutting or printing or whatever it is. And then through series of prototypes, we discover what is the right way to approach the solution for the specific task that we have at hand. And sometimes we immediately reach to the solution, and sometimes it takes few trials before we get to the final piece. And it's always different. It's never the same. I think the future is just being more open to some of the solutions that new machines can bring into the traditional costume making or garment making, wearable art making in general. So it's just being open and being flexible and taking chances at new solutions. This is the bottom half of the skull that it's printed. I have to print it in multiple sections. And this is now freshly removed from the print and cured. This is a semi-flexible print, so it basically, it will be able to live on the body without any problem. We usually clean it with alcohol to make sure it's fully disinfected, and also alcohol helps curing of the resin. And we have a curing box where UV rays are also kind of additionally curing this entire piece. Once it's cured, then it kind of sits for approximately 24 hours. Then we can start painting it and kind of doing the final finishing. Usual finishing is we go with latex-based paints, and then we apply the gold foil on top of it and kind of embellish it any way that we need. I've noticed the need to work on specific body parts constantly in the studio, and especially working on the face of an actor when I need to create something that it's custom fit. And not having the access to actors as frequently as you would want to have access to them, I figured this is like one of the ways to kind of bridge that gap. So we will 3D scan Jose's head today. This is kind of the usual process that we do for different actors, performers, when we need the headpiece to custom fit. This is kind of part of the process that it's something that we do at the studio. I'm capturing his head in high resolution, and I need to do it with a continuous 3D shot. This has to be done slowly and patiently with the model not moving at all. The main thing is like capturing as many angles, as many surfaces slowly going around the body. Ultimately, we can 3D print the head. Whatever we 3D scan, we 3D print the head, and then we get the actor's precise measurement, 1-to-1 scale. And it's incredibly helpful to basically then do the fit of all kinds. This is a simple headpiece, but like things that go over the face or around the head, and then we can make it fit like a glove. But it just shortens the amount of time that we need in the fitting room, because then we have a model to work off of every day. It's thrilling. It's like there's just a special kind of happiness that you have to see your work on stage, to kind of like be celebrated on the dancers, and to see all these characters and performers like bring the life to all the work is it's just a joyful feeling. So this is our work in progress wall. On this wall, we kind of pin the things that we are currently working on, and the boxes kind of relate to everything that is currently happening in the studio. So it's almost like kind of a blurb of all the thoughts and all the projects and little snippets of things that are happening currently. So even though it looks messy, it kind of like makes sense in my head. And it kind of, all the things that are current, I can pin and kind of relate to it, and I know what is it tied to. There are some references of early on research and early sketches, and also like some of the final patterns and the things that are about to happen this coming week. So I was hired for Gypsy to first make some costumes for children. And that's where it started with one of the assistant designers. And then my responsibility kind of immediately kind of expanded to, oh, let's do from the balloon dress, let's do like a full egg costume for a kid, but then let's do like a little whimsical headpieces, and then why don't we have you do electric costume, because that's costume that has like these light up elements, and it also kind of needs to have these few tricks around it so that it has a special programming. And then from there on, it went to let's develop Mazeppa's costume and Tessitura's costume. So it kind of like grew over time to more and more responsibilities, and we also got to make the costumes for the Garden of Eden. This is actually one of the final scenes in the show. And it's called Garden of Eden, where all of these dancers kind of come together. So it's quite a beautiful scene. We actually did already the first 10 or 15 unitards, but this is kind of like improved, better, more beautified version of it. I'm always open to learning new things, and I feel like I'm constantly searching and hunting for new artists and new designers, what they're doing in the world. So I feel like I'm pulling inspiration from different sources, but I also feel like I'm just receptive to what might be the best approach for that specific task. Additional kind of brainstorming or sketching or testing and figuring out what are the things that we have in the garment district, which is the joy of being in New York and kind of being in this area, kind of surrounded with all of the stores and resources that we have here. So it's kind of like the hunt starts usually here first, and then we go whatever we need to go from there.